We're here to, revel in the summer in Alaska. And it's that time once again where we're all going to see tons of tourists coming to our happy state.
Yep, they're all stacked up at the hotels, lining up for the buses.
Well, we thought we'd talk today about what would happen when Alaskans, you're inundated here with tourists, and what happens when you're hurt in a car accident caused by one of these great tourists. And on the flip side,
when you're touring our beautiful state, our beautiful mountains, and all that the state of Alaska has to offer, if there is an unfortunate incident that happens when you're up in the state of Alaska,
right,
as a tourist,
and you've gone back to where you live. And these are all questions that I'm Chris Canterbury.
I'm Michaela Canterbury.
And we're with Kelley-Canterbury. We are Alaska's legal Beagles for you. We're here to answer some of those questions and those topics. So I think maybe we would start from the point of view of an Alaskan. You see all of these people driving RVs around and rental cars and cars borrowed from their family members in Alaska.
Big slow buses going down the Seward Highway, stacking up the cars, 5 behind them.
Yeah.
Right?
And, what happens when you're hit by one of these motorists who aren't familiar with where they are and a variety of reasons why they may be distracted or unfamiliar with the car that they're driving, and heaven forbid you're in an accident with them, right?
Or unfamiliar with the roads of Alaska.
Right. So, there are some little differences, obviously, from if you were hit by another Alaskan. One of those being, well, what happens at the scene? What should I be concerned about?
Yeah. So, when you're at the scene, depending on where the scene is, Alaska has a lot of remote areas. So, one is everybody's safety, of course, your own safety, but the other is making sure that you have the other driver's information, where they're from, their address, how to get a hold of them, what their insurance is, their personal insurance is, and the insurance on the car.
So you may have a situation where, you probably will, the out-of-state driver is driving either an RV or maybe a rental car, right? And in those situations, you do want to establish who the owner of that vehicle is. Maybe a company, right, that was renting that out. It may be another family here in Alaska, a member of theirs that was renting it out. But it's very important to know who the owner of that vehicle is and who their insurer is.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, like I said, these crashes can happen in remote areas. So you can't count on, the troopers are going to show up, or APD is going to show up, or the local police and, China is going to show up. So you've got to get that data yourself, and get the photographs, and if there's witnesses, get their contact information, because this type of evidence can evaporate quickly.
So you're going to secure who the owner is and who their insurance company is, but you're also going to secure, of course, the information about the driver, right? Where they're from, their actual address, mailing address, street address. You're going to need to know their insurance. Because even though they're not driving their family car that's back home in Tennessee or wherever they're from, that policy may be implicated here, all right, for this accident. So it's very important that we know what different insurance policies may be in play, right?
Right. We've also seen it where it's been, there's been out-of-staters up on business. Perhaps they're total foreigners, maybe they're from a different country. So, those kinds of questions, we need to know who owns the vehicle. We need to know, why that person is here, if it's on recreation and vacation, or if it's on business. Those bring in different questions for us to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. And you may be thinking, well, what about if that person's insurance back in Tennessee or something is only $25,000 in coverage or whatever, right? Am I out of luck? Well, in Alaska, our insurance levels, the minimum coverages, of course, are much higher. We're higher than any other state in the union. But don't fear, most of the policies that are sold in America have a provision in there that say that, you know, if they're driving in Alaska and they cause the accident, that since we're part of the United States, they're going to raise those limits to meet our legal requirements for our state, okay? So there should be the same kind of coverage you'd expect if it was here in Alaska.
True. Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is that we do have an act here for the non-resident motorist act in Alaska, right? What does that do? Well, it helps you if it ever came to litigation, right? And you're wondering, how am I going to serve this person who went back to Tennessee or wherever, right?
You're not going to.
You can, just making up a name, Nothing wrong with Tennessee, but I think that what happens is you can actually serve process on our Commissioner of Administration here in Alaska. They serve by law then as the agent for that tourist who has apprised themselves of driving a car in Alaska. Now, it's not enough though just to serve summons on the Commissioner of Administration here in Alaska, but you have to mail a copy of that then down to the address of the other driver, okay? But at least you don't have to hire some process server to go knocking on their door or track them down. You just have to be able to make sure that you had their address so you could mail them a copy of that. But the legal process is actually served right here in Alaska for that.
Yeah,
So,
and we can make it easy for you if you just call us and we do all that work, Please, please, please don't be going on to AI and saying, I done got hit by somebody from Tennessee and we have different coverage. How am I going to get this person served? Because when you put that stuff into the chat GPTs of the world or your little chat boxes, that stuff is not protected information. So like confidential stuff, or I got hurt and I got all these medical bills now from this person from Tennessee. It doesn't become protected. So it's best if you just call someone like us and talk to a human being, a legal beagle that can help you navigate this, and we will use the right statutes to get the right people served, if it comes to that.
Now you remember too that there is a statute of limitations in Alaska of 2 years, right? So from the date of your accident. So if you're hurt by somebody out of state, don't delay, right?
Right.
It complicates things a little bit, right? Having them out of state and everything.
Right.
So it's easy to talk to someone earlier so that all your ducks are lined up in a row well in advance of that 2-year statute of limitations, right? But we wanted to also flip this around and let's talk to the folks that are visiting our great state. And now, all of a sudden, you're hurt in Alaska by the fault of somebody in Alaska, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Or in Canada.
again, reach out to your local council here to help you with some of these questions,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So, we see a lot of that in situations where, hey, you tourists, you're on a bus, you're having a trip of a lifetime here to our beautiful state. You're gonna go see some different activities, hopefully, or maybe you are being adventurous, getting that RV and whatnot too, taking out.
It's a
on your own.
milestone birthday, and I'm gonna go see the glaciers and the Northern Lights. Ride a dog sled. Yeah, and then something tragic happens.
Again, some important things. If you can, obviously, you're gonna want to find the same kind of information we were just saying. The owner of the vehicle that hit you, or caused the accident, the driver's name, the addresses for them. Now, you're probably going to be if you're on a bus, you may be part of some group, right? So in that situation, it's also knowing, was there something wrong with, the bus itself, or the bus driver, or the company
Right.
that you paid good money to shepherd you around the state? So that brings in some other questions about.
Well, and let's be real. I mean, you're not from here, and you just met these people. They might be flight attendants from New Zealand, right? So you don't know anybody except your family. They may be on the bus too, so you're scared. You don't know. but you got to try to get as much information as you can as you are able. Again, sometimes these things happen in remote areas, and so for the ones that are capable of documenting, do retain your receipts of how you purchased your trip.
Yeah.
Retain your, did you have travel insurance? I recommend people have travel insurance, okay? Highly recommend that. Because then everything else is canceled. You know, the zip line trip is canceled, and the other, you know, all the other things that you had stacked up for your trip of a lifetime. So maintain all those receipts and all those emails, because sometimes some of these get down to creatures of contract. Where you contracted, and we like to investigate those types of things.
Yeah. Besides just the out-of-pocket costs that you
Right.
incurred, right, for all these different tickets and the things you had lined up to do in advance that all of a sudden were cut short, right, which you would want back sometime. So those are all losses to you, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if God forbid something happens and you're involved in that activity itself that causes the injury, then it's important to know who you contracted with to provide that service, right?
That experience, right?
That experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing, you know, the different companies involved there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe the cruise line, you know, that you were on is not directly responsible for the sled dog tour you were taking off of there, but how did you come about purchasing those tickets? Was it through the cruise line? Was it you directly making those contacts with the event person? Those kinds of things and those details are important too.
Right, and then
Flesh out.
what kind of medical treatment that you got in Alaska? We're able to get those records quicker than you, and we know who to contact. And then we can work with you if there's follow-up care in the lower 48 or even another country. Those kinds of facilitations, you really need a local counsel in Alaska to help navigate that. You can't do that from afar, whether you're in California or in Korea or wherever. And so you're going to want a local person to help navigate that and get the evidence. You know, if there were some first responders that responded, if you're taken to a hospital, this has happened, you're taken to a hospital in Fairbanks, and then your life meted to Providence. And you don't know where you are. You don't know where you are in Alaska. Alaska's a big state. And so some of your personal belongings are there. And anyway, give us a call. We can help navigate that and then work with you on your care that you're getting at home and your recovery, which is also important to follow up on. And so when the care is transferred from Alaska to wherever your home is, Hawaii or Oregon or another country, that we have the medical doctors that are reading from the same music sheet or medical records. So that continuity of care, that's important too.
Well, yeah, we'll be keeping track of all of your medical needs, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, have releases so we can get that information.
Because we know you can't, right? You're hurt, you're recovering.
And keep track, of course, of any lost wages that you had, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that would be important.
Yeah.
But again, we hope that everybody is safe and happy
Yeah.
this summer in
Enjoy
Alaska.
our state.
Enjoying our
It's
states.
a beautiful state.
Be very vigilant out there of, you know, critters crossing the road so you don't have that kind of
Mhm.
accident, right? There's always little ones trailing behind the big ones, so watch for them coming out of the ditch.
Yeah. Time your travel. You know, do you really want to leave on a Friday, a sunny Friday? Or, you know,
Don't
maybe
be in a hurry,
yeah,
right?
maybe
I
leave
know
on a
you're rushing
Wednesday.
to catch that flight or catch that event. If you're stuck behind one of those RVs that aren't pulling over with 5 cars stacked behind them like they're supposed to, don't take that pass on the blind corner, please. But,
Drive with your headlights on.
and finally, you know, don't rely on AI for all your answers on things where it's always cocksure, it knows what it's doing, you know, until you give it these nuances and the different
Right.
questions that come up.
Right.
And all of a sudden, oh, no, that's totally wrong. How many times does that happen to you?
Yeah, ChatGPT does not know the nuances of whether you're driving through a national park and if there's special laws that apply through there, or if you're on a boat, or if you're in a plane, or if you're on land. these kinds of, there's different laws that apply, and AI doesn't know that.
Instead, just reach out to Kelley-Canterbury
Yeah,
or
a
Alaskan
human bot.
Beagle Bot.
A human, not a robot.
Yeah, we'll help shepherd you through.
Enjoy.
Thanks.
Be safe.